here again. It's Atlantic Discuss. It's Friday. Yeah, it's every Friday. State of the nation, Nigeria. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? And where are we going? Yes, it's a status quo thing. Everybody's asking. Everybody wants to know. Ship of state looks quite rudderless. Yes, that might seem harsh, but yes, it is true. You know, a lot is happening. Almost all institutions of government is, they don't seem to be functioning. There are very few respect for the judiciary. Well, you don't blame people that don't respect them. They have denigrated themselves to a very large extent too. But then when you want to discuss state of the nation, you need to talk to people. And in our tradition, we like people that are true to power, no holds barred, they say it the way it is. And now, for those of you that have been following us, you know, even if you read Atlantic Digest, you know, we've been following the Patriots. They organized a conference recently, constitutional conference, to help Nigeria maneuver its way out of what a lot of people have said, we had a constitutional crisis. Some have said we don't even have a constitution if you don't even obey what you have. Some have said, yes, the problem is not constitutional, it's just failure of leadership. Well, I have someone that was part of the Patriot, someone that knows everything that happened there, was part of the planning. And yes, lo and behold, today I have with us Denzil Amagbe Kentebe. Welcome, sir, to State of the Nation on the Atlantic Discuss channel.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. So let me just introduce, I'm sure that some of our viewers will know you, but let me just let them know that Mr. Kentebe is a Nigerian public affairs analyst, constitutional expert, and a leader of the Patriots. So it's a civil society group advocating for good governance. That's the Patriot I was talking about earlier on, about constitutional reform in Nigeria with deep understanding of Nigerian political and constitutional landscape. Mr. Kentebe has been at the forefront of effort to promote civic engagement in Nigeria, accountability, and constitutionalism in the country. So, I mean, clearly you can see it fits the billing of what we want. So through his work with the Patriot, Mr. Kentebe has been a vocal advocate for reforms that promote transparency, justice, and equality in Nigeria. His expertise and insight have been sought after by various stakeholders, including government officials, civil society organizations, and the media, like just as I'm doing right now. So Mr. Kentebe's commitment to promoting good governance, constitutional reforms in Nigeria, you know, and is driven by his passion for building a more just and equitable society. His leadership and advocacy efforts have contributed significantly to national conversation on the constitutional reform and good governance. So lo and behold, we present him to you. Mr. Kentebe, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us, what's the Patriots all about before we go to the nitty-gritty of the Constitution?
Well, long before the, sometime around 1998, before we had a change of government in 1999, this was even while the former head of state, Abacha, was alive, a group of eminent statesmen came together and decided that they needed to look more into trying to guide and ensure that the Nigerian state was built on, like you said, equity, justice, transparency, fairness. And so this group of men sat down and decided to form themselves into a group called the Patriots. And the sole goal was to ensure that and we had people from north, east, south, west. So it was a real Nigerian group. The only person that is alive from that group now is General Ike Nwachukwu.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure you know him. Yes.
Very well.
Yes, he's the only one of the original members who is alive. This was done in Chief Williams's chambers as the founding president. And as years went by, they tried to recruit people of like minds, patriots of like minds, who did not fall for whether you were from east, north, south, or west. They were Nigerian patriots, you know. And so it's a really selective process in choosing members who were regarded as members of the Patriots. And I was, sort of headhunted also into that because the old men felt that their time was going, and they wanted to ensure that there was some kind of succession with we younger ones. So right from the second phase of membership, they started to get some of us into the Patriots, and we started to learn the ropes from them, which is what has brought us today, that with something as important as the Constitution of the country, or even the state of the nation, that no other group other than the Patriots feel the need and the responsibility to speak up at this time in the annals of our country.
Wow, interesting. So now I can see where it's really coming from. And now I remember when they had that meeting in the FRA Williams House. I can remember now. Yeah. So, but sir, what motivated the recent conference you had? Is it because the current constitution is not functioning, or the country looks like it's just not well navigated? Why the urgency?
Well, like I said, the responsibility of the Patriots is to ensure that the country is run smoothly, as you rightly noted. For the past few years, we've been going forwards and backwards in the country. Things don't seem to be working right. It doesn't matter what government was in place. You had one issue or the other. There were ethnic clashes. There are, clashes between some people from the north infiltrating in the south, some people from the south doing things that the northerners felt, or the southwesterners felt were not right in their own place. So there's just a lot of confusion. And as leaders and elders, we said, listen, we looked at this thing and we felt that you can keep trying to correct things when they happen. There are headsmen today who are moving into Bayelsa, you correct that. But tomorrow, some people will do things from Osun State going to maybe Zamfara to do something else. So you're not really fixing the root cause of the problem. Now, when we looked at it, we've realized that the sole problem, what is causing all this thing, is the kind of constitution that we have, the kind of foundation that we have, where people feel there is no sense of equality, there's no sense of justice, there's no sense of fairness. And then you begin to have people try to take the laws into their own hands. But if all these things were controlled, then maybe we'll see a semblance of sanity and we'll be able to improve on our development of our country, as opposed to just trying to quell issues from day to day. So, based on the aspiration of Nigerians, to ensure fairness, equity, social justice, stability, sustainable development, security, we felt that if we came back to a constitution that is owned by the people, for the people, then maybe we'll begin to build on that to a just and equitable country. So that's how this came about. And we felt we'll come together, we will discuss, we'll make our recommendations to the government of the day, and hopefully other groups in Nigeria will sign on to what we're doing. And at the end of it all, we'll be able to have a people's constitution that has been through a process that is approved by the people, because the process is even more important than the outcome of the process. Okay. If I may use that, how you get about it, how you gain consensus, how you negotiate with other people. We have thousands of ethnic nationalities in this country. And if we have to live together, then we must dialogue, we must discuss, and try to find common ground in working together to build a just country.
Yeah. Before I ask my next question, something just came to my mind, and I think I should ask. I've spoken to people in the past, sometime on my program here, and some of which including Professor Patutomi, who said Our problem is actually failure of leadership. That sometimes, I mean, it doesn't matter how bad the constitution may be, there's also a problem of implementation, sincerity, failure of the elite to recalibrate and meander the country to the right path. Do you agree with that, or you still feel that we need to?
No. I do agree with that. I do agree with that 100%. But, for example, we have today, we say we're in a democracy. But if you scrutinize and look carefully at what is going on, when anything goes wrong in Zamfara, in Yenagua, in Ekiti, in Nisaleko, everybody says federal government. Nobody says, where's my local government chairman? Nobody says, where's my governor? Everybody says federal government. So the federal government can only do so much. And under this kind of constitution that we have, where there's so much power at the center, any federal government will always fail. So what we need to do is devolve those powers so that at every level, you can hold your leaders accountable. The center is too far from most parts of Nigeria. And so people feel helpless. And that is why most of the time people feel, I'll take the law into my hands and let's see what happens. It's like, you toss up a coin. It might be heads, it might be tails. I'll take my chance. But if we have a true people's constitution, if we have a true federalism as it is meant to be, as it was in, when we're trying to get our independence, then you will find out that even that issue of leadership will be easily solved because the leaders will now be responsible solely to the people. A governor in a state today is more fearful of what the president thinks of him or what the center thinks of him, what the EFCC thinks of him, what the NSA thinks of him, than of the people who are supposed to have elected him in his own state. So while I agree that leadership is a problem, we also have to see why leadership has been a problem. It's because we have a strong center and nobody respects the people who are supposed to be what I call the ones that hold the sovereignty. Nobody respects them, even at the lower level. So you are going to continue to have issues with leadership.
Okay.
Today, some governors get into office not by the demands or the clamor of their people to vote them in or to bring them in to lead them, but because of their connections in other quarters. Now, how can you say that kind of a governor will come and lead properly? It's a no-brainer. It will not. He will lead properly according to the books of those who he is serving. But if you have to look at his responsibility to his state and to his people, you find out that it's near zero.
So, I mean, you've used the word that I've heard devolution, and we've been hearing it for a long time, even from the days of Abacha, devolution of power. And I'm sure, because my next question is actually what specific changes or reforms to the Constitution are you advocating for and why are they necessary? But when you were talking the last time, you've pointed to some of those directions where you said devolution. And I'm sure state police will be one of those things. But some school of thought, considering the way Nigeria is, the orientation and what have you, that even those governors, if there's a trickle-down effect, which is devolution in itself, the local government chairman, if he has some semblance of power and authority, will equally abuse it. The governor have been abusing it, So is it more like it's an inherent thing, or we just need a national rebate? Does it really have to be a constitutional thing? Or we just need...
No, it has to be a constitutional thing because you have to build on a foundation.
Okay.
That you can hold.
Okay,
and leverage on that you can hold to say, okay, the issue of the governors being overbearing on the local government chairmen or chairwomen that they have will not come to play if the governors at the local level are responsible to even their own citizens.
Absolutely.
Why that is now is that a governor does not respect people in his own state. He's taking orders from Abuja. He's scared of Abuja. We had governors in the last election who contested under political party A. As of today, most of them have moved to the party at the center, not because of any kind of ideological change, not because their people are clamoring to say, look, you need to join this other party, but simply because they feel that their responsibility is to the center, not to their people. And that brainwave is also what makes them deal and guide the local governments, the way they do. Because the stronger hold you have on the local government, the stronger the hold you have on your state, the more you can go to the center to negotiate. But if your responsibility is solely to your people at the state level, if you try to be overbearing on any local government, then I think the people can easily deal with you either through during elections or, you get impeached. Because it will be very clear what you're doing at your state level.
Right. So
the governors won't be handpicking local government chairmen.
Yeah. So let's go to the specifics now. I mean, the changes you want, the reforms you want to the Constitution that you're advocating for. Can we just be specific? I mean, because of time, we may not be able to touch everything. Maybe 5 or 3 core.
Okay. Well. The Constitution we have today, okay, the 1999 Constitution, yes, which is a better version of the 1979 Constitution, was, as you know, given by General Abdul Salami when he was leaving. Mm-hmm. There was no time. Everybody wanted to just leave on time after Abacha died. Really so everybody wanted to just throw things together and say, let me get out of here. Okay. So that was what happened. It had no input from the people and stuff. So what we are recommending is, one, is this kind of government that we're running today beneficial to the people of Nigeria or not? We have a presidential system of government. The way it is being practiced elsewhere is not the way it's being practiced in Nigeria. The Nigerian president, under the system, is one of the most powerful people in the world. And whatever he says automatically becomes law. Yes, on paper, we're supposed to have the president, you're supposed to have the National Assembly, that's the Senate, and the House of Reps. But you and majority of Nigerians know that it does not work that way. Whatever the president says, the Senate agrees, the House of Reps agrees, then we move on, good or bad. That's not the way it was structured. So we're looking for Nigerians to sit down and ask themselves what kind of government suits our situation with all the different ethnic nationalities, with all the different, with the diversity that we have in this country today. What form of government? Is it parliamentary? Let's talk about it. Is it presidential? Let's talk about it. Is it a mixture of both? Let's talk about it. Is it our own natural Nigerian system? Let's fashion it out. Nobody says we have to follow what exists somewhere else in the world. We can tailor by discussing and negotiating and everybody coming together with a sense of purpose. We can fashion out a constitution or a form of government that suits us. And that is what we are asking for Nigerians to look at. Let's sit down. At the end of the day, we will agree on something. Then we'll continue to practice it. But we will own it as Nigerians. Okay. The second thing I will look for, or the patriots are looking for, will be the issue of resource control. Okay? There is so much money going to the center that's not being used for what it's supposed to be used for. I think there's a lot of, stealing going on, if you ask me. Okay? There's no accountability to the people of the country. And those that suffer, for example, I'm from the Niger Delta region. We suffer a lot. We have a lot of peculiar issues. with our environment that might not occur or apply to other parts of the country. Now, if we are being marginalized and cheated in terms of revenue that accrues to us for the kind of things we have to do, then you will agree with me that there's some level of unfairness that is there. And this can make people start to do things that normally they will not do. Okay, so we are looking for a situation to go back to the system we had in 1960, okay, where we had regional where we had 100% resource control, and you paid your taxes to the center on a 50, 30, and 20 basis. 50 for the state, okay, 30 for common purse, and then 20 for, for the federal government to provide very little things. The federal government also has to do more than man our borders, provide security, and things like that. But today, the federal government gets into everybody. Whatever you're even doing in your living room, the federal government is involved. It shouldn't be that way. So resource control is key. It has helped us in the past, where you see that in the north, they have the coconut pyramids, and things were going well for them. You go to Kanu, you saw nice buildings, skyscrapers, and things like that. The same way in the West, free education. Let everybody develop according to their own pace, managing their own resources. And I will say that as of today, at least now, based on the kind of technology that we have in the world, people are beginning to realize that all parts of the country have natural resources. Mm-hmm. So you go deal with your natural resources, okay? Be accountable to your own people, pay your levies to the center, and then let the federating units deal with the development of the area.
Wow.
Okay. Then I've also talked about security. Yes. I have talked about in the constitution that we're going to have. We've talked about devolution of power from the center to the states, and some people have talked about zones and states. Which one should be the federating units? My take is let Nigerians sit down, you debate, and you look for which one suits us. Okay? But if we are saying that we're going back to, for example, true federalism, there's nothing wrong with each federating unit deciding what kind of government or governance they have. They will have their own constitution, as is done in the United States. You still have laws at the federal level, but within the federating units, you control yourselves based on what your own personal peculiarities are. So today people come up. We have 12 states. We have 14 states. We have 16 states. We have 32 states. We have 72 states. Based on what? Based on what? Based on because someone wants to be governor of a state. So very soon we're going to have in Isaleko or in Yenagua, it will be a state, so somebody can be governor.
Okay.
That is not the essence of governance. There must be some methodology to how you get these things done. And someone at the center cannot sit down and just decide, oh, I want to create a state from Ekiti State because somebody there is my brother and is my close friend, he's been talking to me, so he feels he must have a state. Let's do that. No. Those are the things that have brought us to where we are today. And we should go back and, set the record straight, lay a good foundation so that even if we don't benefit, our children and grandchildren can benefit from this great country called Nigeria.
Wow. So what are the potential obstacles, or challenges that the patriots feel they might face in actualizing this? Because it does seem to me that the people that are benefiting from the status quo will not want a change.
Well, you've said that. You've said that. But how many people? What's the proportion of those people benefiting? They're very few.
Negligible, actually.
They're very few.
Yeah,
so the issue is for Nigerians, which is why I'm glad the Patriots are doing this, because I've been in Nigeria for a long time. Nigerians want what is right. Nigerians want what is just. Nigerians want what is good. A lot of times people bend because they have no choice.
True.
Because they have no choice. Somebody arrests you for doing nothing. You are compelled to pay him off, because if you have to go through the process, you're not even sure what process you're going through. You mentioned the judiciary the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Who trusts the judiciary? Nobody. So I'm not going to say, you've arrested me, I'm going to go to court and sue you to prove my innocence, when I'm not even sure that innocence can be proven even with the best judge, because you don't trust that system. So that's why people do the wrong thing. So if we see people who are trying to do right, like the Patriots are trying to do, and I'm sure Nigerians sat down last week and watched the 3 days we had our convention. They watched the people that were there. These are people with credibility. These are people with antecedents. So when you start to see people like that talk on your behalf, you begin to gravitate towards them. So hopefully, Nigerians will get up and start to support what the Patriots are also doing, so we can have a mass movement of people saying, listen, you guys are in the minority. You're not going to pull us by the nose. We are going to ensure what is right is done, one way or the other. And I think that is the way, it should be.
Just to buttress your point, when we're watching it with some of my friends, one of them actually observed that if only that was the Nigerian Senate,
thank you.
Yeah, that if only that was the Nigerian Senate, when they saw the quality of people there, but unfortunately it's not. So let me ask you this. I mean, you said all this. Nigeria, of course, was a Commonwealth nation and all that. And we've seen what happened in India. Immediately after independence, the fighting, Pakistan broke out of India, subsequently Bangladesh, and none of those three countries are doing badly. Yes, India, slightly volatile, most populous democracy today. Indira Gandhi was assassinated. There was no military coup in India. Subsequently, Rajiv Gandhi, the son, was equally assassinated. There was no military coup. And those two scenarios, any of them will have been a recipe for coup in most of sub-Saharan Africa. So, I mean, being a scholar yourself, what do you think the Indians, did differently? The founding fathers of India did differently, that it's not in, I don't want to use just Nigeria, because most of the problems we have, it's common, it's almost perennial in our climb. But of course, I know if Nigeria does well, the rest of Africa will pick up and follow. But what do you think the Indian founding fathers did differently?
Okay, I'll tell you. India, like Nigeria, was a Commonwealth country under the British. When they were trying to get their independence, around the same time, I know we started to discuss, Nigeria's independence from maybe about 1954. They started talking, should we not? India was going through the same phase. But you can see that the level of sincerity, they faced their problems head on. We know what our differences are. We know what our peculiarities are. You cannot force us to stay together. So let us go our separate ways. Without interference, they discussed, it was negotiated, it was done. That was a foundation. So when you even have issues in India today or in Pakistan, you are dealing with people that have some common identity, dealing with their own peculiar issue. There is no issue of, you have done this because you are from the other side, so you turn a blind eye to whether the guy is right or wrong. Unlike Nigeria, where we were all forced together to say, this is the way you must be. And even at that, with the negotiations that was done by our founding fathers, where we had true federalism, it was working until the military came in '66 and said, hey, suspended constitution, we are going to rule by decree. This is what you do, this is what you don't do. Okay, maybe there was a reason for that. But when you changed to civilian government in '79, what I expected was for the civilian government to go back to the original. If we're saying that the military incursion was an aberration, why continue with it? With whatever they say to you. You are now in authority. You can go back and say, we are going to go back to what our founding fathers negotiated, what was working for us, and whatever issues we have in there, we will correct as we move along. India and Pakistan have been allowed to make their mistakes, to fall down, to get up over the years without military coups or incursion or suspension of constitutions, and that is why they are where they are today.
Yes, sir.
Consistency. Things will go wrong. You correct them, you move on.
That's true.
Every country, every successful country in the world has gone through that. We can't keep going back and forth. But the level of our own politicians, in 1999, when Abacha passed away in 98 and Abdul Salami came in, and they said they were going to have a handover to civilians, who were the civilians that went in and said, okay, we're now elder statesmen, we want to help shape this country? Nobody trusted that was going to happen. So what you had was a crop of people who were not doing anything that says, hey, this is our opportunity to capture the state. And that's what's been going on.
How do we get it back from them? Is that ever going to happen? Because they are hell-bent from what I see.
No. Well, you see, my belief is good will always overcome evil. So for what the Patriots are doing now, which is to expose these things to the country, we're not doing it in a quarrelsome way. We're not doing it through violence. We're coming systematically to say, this is where we are, this is what we need to do, and we will go through a process. And we're hopeful that Nigerians are catching in on, because they have seen the good and the bad. And most Nigerians want what is good. So we are hopeful that other groups, like the Patriots, there are many of them around the country, will continue to come together and will form the synergy that ultimately will push these guys that are doing wrong out of our space.
I was going to ask you about momentum, because the Patriot has momentum now based on that conference. So I was going to ask how you were going to sustain it and all that. So you've actually answered it now, synergizing.
Yes.
And all that. Yeah. So let's talk about our elections. It's something that bothers everybody. It's almost very embarrassing, especially when you look at the last election in Ghana. The Electoral Commission have not even announced the official result, and the person that lost had already congratulated the winner. You're like, wow, in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, in the past, our elections, I say this all the time, our elections were...
Well, Jonathan did that in Nigeria, so I think Ghana is just following what Nigeria has done and done successfully.
Well, Jonathan did it, and now all the people that castigated and vilified him are all regretting it now, They're like, anyway, so my point is this. Now, in the past, our elections were free, but not fair. Now they are not free, they are not fair. And with what the Patriots are doing, I mean, I'm sure there's a timeline, but we know that there's a possibility that all these things might not manifest possibly in another 4 or 5 years, or even 10. I know I have a feeling we will have to sit down and talk one day, whether we like it or not. It's so important, because when you read the Constitution that says we, the people of the Federal Republic, knowing fully well that we, the people, never sat down to discuss anything. So there has to be a time when we must discuss. So coming back to the election, there's a possibility that before all this constitutional reform comes to pass or happens, we might have another election. What can the Patriot do, or what has the Patriot been doing, or how can we help? What are your suggestions? Because the fear of most people, for example, is that, credible people that want to run, they say, look, you can't even get party nomination one, and look at what happened in the last election, IREV, Beavers, glitch, things are so uncommon, I'm sure even the Nasingbe dynasty were like, man, these guys they are at a different level. So how can we really have free and fair elections that reflects the choice of the people?
Well, again, based on the kind of foundation we lay, and I don't share that belief that it's going to take a long time to have a new people's constitution. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think if we're sincere we still have 2 years before the next election.
Absolutely.
If we are sincere as a people, we can have this constitution done within a year or less. And once that is done, and certain things such as true federalism, whatever federation units we want to use, whether it be states or be it regions, even with the regions, you can see that it's not even fairly equitably distributed now. Okay, we're saying we have 6 geopolitical regions in the states, but we're marginalizing people who are spread over 6 states. Ijaws, for example, are spread over, they're minorities in 5 states, in 4 of the 6 states.
Coastal Nigeria.
Yeah, coastal Nigeria. So if you had that as its own federating units, call it region, call it a state, then you have people with the common ideology, common nationality, common everything, being together to decide this is the kind of person that we feel is qualified to lead us without any pressure from the center. So I believe and I pray that the Patriots are not waiting till after the next election in 2027 to have this change. We want it to, we're in a hurry. We want Nigerians to ask for it. Nigerians must ask for a constitutional change. And if we're asking, then I think the president should and must, if he is truly a president of the people, listen to the people of Nigeria, call for the Constitutional Conference, and at least let us start the process. That is what will give lasting change to anything, any electoral reform you might want to have. We've had electoral reforms in the past. What has happened?
Nothing.
We have a situation where what electoral reform says, you can't contribute more than X number of naira to a political party without disclosing it. Who cares today if you contribute 1 billion to a political party? The person that is even running for president is contributing more than what the law requires. So who is going to checkmate who? So there's nothing we're going to do that's going to bring fair and free elections unless we go back to the foundation where we say, okay, what do we want to, what kind of government, federating units do we want to have? And let elections be done really at the local level. We'll have national elections, but let the local, that's what develops the country. The country, Yenagoa is not developed from Abuja. It is the governor in Yenagoa that will develop Yenagoa and Sagbama and Ikerimo and Nimbe and Brass, not the federal government. So if we have these reforms done to the Constitution, I think that will be something that will douse the level of non-election that we have now. We don't have, what we have now, you can't call it elections. It's not elections. They had elections in Lagos last week, local government elections. You had a 1% turnout of voters, 1%. How representative is that?
Very sad. So I have 2 more questions for you, and I'll start with something I asked earlier on when I was referring to India, and I use the Commonwealth of countries example. India, like we discussed, had Pakistan and Bangladesh, and they went out for obvious reasons. They have the Malay example, Singapore and Malaysia. Then recently, Sudan, South Sudan came out with capital in Juba and all that. Do you foresee a scenario where do you think, I'm asking you now, that do you think this, I mean, you don't have to speak for the Patriot, because since we are looking for solution, do you think that we might have been better off, or we may be better off if all those federating units, so to say, like maybe the Arewa on their own, or Dudu on their own, but now they are bigger now, because the George we mentioned too, they are sovereign and, they have oil and all that. But do you think we could get to that situation if we do not rectify the constitutional issue?
If we don't rectify the constitutional issue, we're going to have problems. And I'm not speaking for the Patriots now. I'm speaking as a Nigerian citizen.
That's why I said so. I said
yes, we're going to have problems, because the issue of there's only so much a person can take. If you go to the Niger Delta, for example, and see the level of pollution, and you see someone from somewhere, maybe even parts of this country, or maybe one of the big oil corporations come in there, and they're declaring millions and millions of dollars in dividends. And you see the Nigerian oil workers also spending, driving with security all over. There comes a time when you say enough is enough. And you will do what is within your power, whatever is within your power, to stop that kind of a thing from happening. Because if we don't do that, it comes to a point where it's either you are extinct or the correct things. And I don't think anybody's going to sit down and wait till somebody comes to your region or your area and oppress you and get you out of the way where in another 50 years or so, nobody even knew you ever existed. That is wrong. That is totally wrong. The kind of diseases we have in the Niger Delta region, they don't have any of that kind, due to oil exploration. It's not anywhere. Now, what remedies does the government have? The federal government might not care about that remedy. But a state government, if you have true federalism, will be compelled to deal with its own people's situation.
Final question.
Now, you're taking money from a particular place. There is problem in what's that forest called again? Sambisa forest. You are using money that you have taken from a particular region where the people are impoverished, lots of disease, no means of livelihood because you've polluted the environment. You're taking that to buy arms and ammunition to go and fight somebody in Sambisa. How just is that? So yes, when push comes to shove, something might happen. So we don't want that. And that is why the Patriots are saying, listen, there's a better way to go. We're all civilized people. We're Nigerians. We're well educated. We're well respected all over the world where Nigerians go to. Let's use our intellect to proffer lasting solutions. And we have started that, and we're appealing to all Nigerians, youths, women, handicap, everybody keen so we can take our country back. I think that's hashtag take Nigeria back.
Take Nigeria back. So I'll ask you this. Yeah, I mean, apart from the institution of government that are not functioning, the judiciary, the legislative, all of them, I mean, if you say moribund, it's not unfair, So now we also notice that the traditional institution and the religious institution at leadership level have also failed to a very large extent. Are these issues related? When you say the judiciary is not doing well, the legislature is not doing well. Now you have the traditional and the religious institution also acting below par. Are they related?
Yes, they are related. Yes, they are related. Ask yourself, in the days of our fathers and our grandfathers, how were the traditional institutions run? How were the leaders chosen? They don't choose you because you have money. Are you understanding me? They don't choose you because you have clout. They don't choose you because your father's name is XYZ. You go through a process that is free, fair, democratic, transparent. That is not the case today. So you're having the same problem even in that institution, where you have some people that says, we're traditional rulers, and you look at them and say, we know where you're coming from. We know how you got here. So nobody will respect you. Traditional rulers used to be, without any force, are people that you respected in the olden days. You respected in the olden days. That is not the case today. With the religious leaders, when you get to a point where a religious leader cannot even adhere to his own doctrine, what guides him, whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Bible, then we have a problem. Our pulpits are being used now for political reasons. Those used to be the people that used to guide in the past when we had regional governments. Yes, they were not, the religious leaders were there. But we feel that all that will change if we now go back and rejig our Constitution. We rejig it to even include ways and manners of including our traditional institutions and our religious institutions. So there's something that is clean and clear to follow. And hopefully, if we have that, then the judiciary will fall in place. If we have parliamentary system, we know how that works. If it's the presidential system we're still going to run, then everybody that goes there will understand that they're there at the behest of the people. Now you have a senator is elected, nobody sees him for 4 years, and nobody cares. Nothing is done. That is not the essence of a presidential system of democracy. That's not even the essence of democracy. When a state governor will tell a sitting citizen of a country, you can't come to my state, that's not democracy. So when a governor should know what the law says, is not saying what the law says, his attorney general is not speaking, the federal attorney general kept quiet, then it means that anybody can just decide once you have power to create the laws the way it suits you. That is not how we're going to have a just and equitable country.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Denzil Amagbe Kentebe. Denzil, sorry. You have to pardon me. Yeah, maybe I have to buy a cow for. Yeah, thank you so much. You've done justice to it, and I mean you've lived up to the billing. Nigeria is in a crisis. There's nothing to be diplomatic about. We are the largest concentration of Black people on the planet. I mean,
oh yes,
yeah. 1 out of every 4 sub-Saharan African is a Nigerian. 1 out of every 6 Black persons in the whole world, including Barack Obama and all the wonderful Black people.
In fact, we want Nigeria to work so all Blacks can start to move in here and help us develop.
Yes, it's a no-brainer. So to all our viewers, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, all our viewers. It's a wrap there. We'll see you next week, Friday. Mr. Kentebe, once more, we thank you for coming to State of the Nation on the Atlanta Discourse channel.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.
As the constitutional issue keep evolving, we'll always come back to you, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. All right.